Do I have plenty of battery according to that?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I've not used it in quite some time. Okay, so looking at your unit reviews then and just kind of going over in general what you'll see on the tests. That very first question where it talked about describe key characteristics of all chemical reactions, including the role of energy. Explain how a balanced equation represents these features. I'll put up that example again. So that was CH4 plus O2 yields CO2, H2O. So, like we said before in that one, it shows that one, that matter is conserved, law of conservation of matter. We can also say that it is going to show how energy is conserved. You'll have more energy in the reactants than you will the products. You have to put energy on the product side. As I'm looking at the front page of the multiple choice, there will be you will see one multiple choice question in dealing with this idea here of what are the signs of a gas being produced, what are the signs of a chemical reaction happening. So you'll have one multiple choice question in dealing with that. Number 2, where it says applying the model, you'll have a question just like that, where you either have to write in a reactant or a product. Okay, so you'll see a question just like that. In fact, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's actually 4 questions in dealing with that one. 4 questions that deal with number 2. So in other words, knowing what reactants are, knowing what products are, knowing what you'd have to include in that's missing, and then writing out a balanced equation. Excuse me. Okay, so there's 4 questions there dealing with that one. Number 3, where it says balance these reactions. There are 5 questions where all you do is balance. That's all you have to do. Okay? 5 questions where all you have to do is just balance them. There are 5 questions where you have to write the equation and balance. Okay, 5 questions where you have to write the equation out and then balance it. So you know, using your periodic tables and your ion sheets. Let's see what else. You have 1 question that is an exothermic endothermic reaction, you know, with the bar charts. So 1 question of exo, endo, bar chart. Up here, this graph, there's 1 question dealing with that, which, out of curiosity, any questions about this? I mean, do you understand what's going on here? This is just showing that as time goes on. So as time goes on, what happens to the chemical energy? So reactants higher, products lower. When you have that kind of reaction where reactants are higher and products are lower in chemical energy, what kind of a reaction is that? Exo. So that means the opposite would be endothermic. Okay, so that would be endothermic. See if there's anything else here. You will have 2 questions on molecular diagrams. It's like right here, it's saying if I have a CH4 and then 2O2. You'll have to sketch out what the products would be based on the balanced reaction. So that's one of them. And then the other, they actually give you options of like, would your product molecule box be A, B, C, or D, and you just have to look at the diagrams. And they give you like a key for, let's say like, if I had them different colors, saying like, you know, green was H, and black is C. Oh, we'll use O as blue. Okay, or you can draw it out, you know, you can draw it out as well too. Questions on that? Okay. And then you have one question where it's like a 4-part question. It'd be just like number 6 on your review. So in other words, they give you which what reactions are the following. So you just have to answer, you know, is it a single replacement, double replacement, combustion, synthesis, or decomposition? You know, one of the 5. Okay. Like I said, I'll keep the list of them up here. And I figure that's something tomorrow that we can go over together as a whole group just to make sure we're on top of that there. In fact, I can go over in a few minutes maybe with you guys in general if you want to spend a little more time on that. Okay, and then lastly, some other multiple choice on the front page. What do you call the 2 right here? What's the term for that? It's a subscript. What do you call the number in front of the chemical? Coefficient. Okay. There's 2 questions taken care of right there. Just give you a heads up, there's one question. So something that's a solid is represented by S. If it's a liquid, it's represented by L. If it's a gas, it's represented by G. If you've got a solid dissolved in water, that would be AQ. So like if you were to take sodium chloride and dissolve it in water, aka salt water, that would be its technical symbol. Or like, let's say if you had NaCl, AQ, it just means that you dissolved it into water, because when you dissolve it in water, it dissolves into ions. Because when we dissolve salt in water, what do we know about electricity? It'll conduct electricity. That's why it breaks up from being a solid into its respective ions. So this right here, and these 2 things mean the same thing. So AQ means dissolved in water, it's broken up into ions. There is a question that deals with exothermic, endothermic in terms of how does your either how does your test tube feel, or so like if your test tube feels hot, what kind of a reaction do you know that is? Exo. If it feels cold, endo, yep. And then what if you have to heat up the chemical? Hot endothermic, yep. Okay. Okay, Tanisha, I think, stated it earlier, but when we balance a chemical reaction, on both sides, what things are balanced? Always. What things are always balanced? Atoms, yep, okay. In this case here, it just so happens the molecules are, but remember that's not always the case. So you can have different numbers of molecules, but you should always have the same number of atoms on each side, okay? Always the same number of atoms. Okay, that's the test in a nutshell. Other questions before I spend maybe a few minutes just going over the types of reactions one more quick time? Like I said, I'll also go over it as a whole group tomorrow with the 8 of us, just for a little extra refresher. All right, if nothing else, why don't you go ahead and shut off the camera. Just have to hit the red button for it to stop recording.